Thank you all for being with us tonight for this special edition of WGNO News honoring the life of Ed Daniels. I'm Kurt Sprang.
And I'm Susan Rosegen. WGNO Sports Director Ed Daniels died today, 3 weeks after he had a heart attack in Los Angeles. Through the kindness of Saints and Pelicans owner Gail Benson, Ed had been flown from the hospital in LA to Ochsner Hospital here in New Orleans.
And that's where he died at 3 o'clock this afternoon. This is a difficult time for us, certainly for Ed's family and for the entire community, and we are all remembering a man who meant so much to all of us. If you'd asked Ed Daniels, what's the secret to a happy life? Is it focusing on your career, your family, your faith? Ed would have surely said all of the above. And that's how he lived. As a native son of the New Orleans area, Ed appreciated what life here brought him. He graduated from Archbishop Rummel and then Loyola University. He was the most senior member of WGNO News, serving as our sports director since 1992. That was before the station became an ABC affiliate, and it was during those years as an independent station that Ed created a program that became one of the greats in New Orleans sports journalism, Friday Night Football. For 32 years, Ed used the program to focus on what he thought was most important about sports: the local teams, players, coaches, and their accomplishments. He was so proud of the high school baseball and basketball tournaments he organized, and he loved reporting on the pros, too. Not only could his questions be tough, so could his editorials. Ed was in that club of sports fan who watched games at both Tulane stadiums, the original and the new. He knew firsthand what it was like for New Orleans to watch the Superdome rise to initially revitalize Poydras Street and then help a city rise from its knees after Hurricane Katrina. In fact, after the storm, Ed helped lead the WGNO News team through some of our most difficult days. We worked months without a newsroom due to the storm, and Ed was by everyone's side covering the news stories in the early days of the recovery. He also loved Carnival, and Mardi Gras morning, Ed was a regular along the Metairie route. The Saturday before, he relished his rides with the crew of Endymion. Besides journalism, the other love of Ed's life was his wife Robin and his children and grandchildren. He adored them. He shared with us how he found strength in his faith and cherished singing in the choir at his church, St. Philip Neri in Metairie. As serious as he could be, Ed also loved to joke and laugh. In the newsroom, if you told Ed a good joke, he might walk by your desk and chuckle for days, repeating the punchline.
Ed, one of the legends in broadcasting here.
New Orleans has lost a legend. Ed Daniels was the most important and impactful person who ever walked through the doors to work at WGNO. Those of us who are fortunate enough to know him will do all we can to measure up and continue. And we will tell the new faces who arrive here in the future how they missed working with one of the greats and how much we miss working with Ed.
We don't yet have any funeral arrangements to share with you. That's pending. But Ed's family did send us this little message. They wanted you to know that he, quote, loved being a pops and a popsy to his beloved grandkids.
And we do have an email address where you can share memories of Ed with his family. And it's on your screen here. storiesofeddaniels@gmail.com.
Ed's passing is a loss for coaches and players all across the state, and it's a loss for the WGNO Sports Department.
The sports anchors Richie Mills and Jared Paul Joseph are here to remember a man they worked with a lot. Gentlemen?
Hey guys, every conversation that we've had today just reinforced what we already knew, and it's how much Ed Daniels meant to this community, that he gave so much to on a daily basis. Just relentless passion, relentless determination. No was not in his vocabulary when it came to promoting the good that was in this community. And of course, you know, the void in that sports office. Like I said, when you walk in the sports office, his desk is right there, and that void, those shoes will never be filled, because we know what he truly meant. We were with him more than others most nights, and I can just tell you this, you know, we are eternally grateful for everything that he has provided us, done for us, and allowed us to do. So again, The conversations that we have throughout the course of this show, please pay attention to them, because not only are they powerful, impactful, but they speak so much truth as to who this man was.
And Richie, of course, you've worked with him for 5 years or so in the sports department. I've only been here a few months. I'm not even a full year yet, and yet I've known the impact that Ed has had. I know the way that he has reached out to so many people, the attention to detail, the perfection, but the person that he also is. Losing that is one of the most heartbreaking things that I think I've ever experienced, seeing that happen with just not myself, but so many other people. His family, of course, most importantly, and we continue to pray for y'all, but Ed Daniels is somebody who, no matter what it is, he wants to do it the best. It doesn't matter if we work till 11 or 12 a.m. It doesn't matter if he had to stay up till 2 a.m. making sure that something was done ahead of time. He'd be up at 6 or 7 at a scrimmage or at a post-game press conference or post-practice presser and whatnot, making sure that he did his best to do the best for not only this station, but for the community, and to do 1,000 different things to make sure that the kids that were in this area got the coverage, the promotion, and the attention they deserve.
And to Miss Robin and the entire family, we not only say that our prayers and support are with you, we thank you for sharing this man with us, because again, I wouldn't be standing here today if it was not for him allowing me to be a part of his sports department, and I know, we share that same sentiment.
Definitely. Look, I was out of the business for a year, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I was personally on the brink of not knowing what was going to happen with my life, and then I get a call, I get a text, I get a meeting, I meet one of the legends in Louisiana sports broadcasting, and next thing you know, I'm working for a guy who knows everybody, and everybody knows him, and he treats them all like family, and getting the honor and the pleasure of being treated like family by Ed is something that I think is an eternal experience that you can't really describe unless you feel it.
Well, John Curtis, head football coach JT Curtis, was Ed's co-host on Friday Night Football for decades, and he shared some of his best memories of Ed with us.
The thing that I would tell you that I learned about him very early on was the passion he had for what he did. He feels about this show the way I feel about the kickoff on Friday night. I want all the preparation to be done, and I don't want to leave a stone unturned, as they say, and I want to try to go out there and perform to the best of our ability for all the team. And this is a team effort. A show like this is not put on with just one person, but one person directing other people and making it be the kind of show that it was. And I think it speaks to his professionalism as a broadcaster and his commitment to the young people that he served.
Coach, you talked a lot about the person he is in the office, the professional that he is. What about the person you learned him to be as a friend and not just somebody, in an office or in a suit?
And that was such a neat experience, because we did grow to be personal friends, obviously. We had many, many conversations about family. We had many conversations about spiritual things that he and I both would discuss and talk about. And it was important that as we grew together, our friendship was more than just being a friend. The Bible says that sometimes he's closer than a brother, and oftentimes I felt that way about Ed. We had such a close relationship and talked often in the off time, if you would, but always it would turn to something about sports, something about he was covering, or something that, what do you think, sort of thing. But I had the opportunity to watch him grow in his family with Robin and his children. He was a committed dad and loved his children beyond belief. I mean, he was just passionate about trying to give them all the things that they needed, the weddings and the birthdays and all of that sort of thing that he was just passionate about.
And of course, we'll be still working alongside head coach JT for Friday Night Football, but we thank you again, Coach, for coming in and giving your thoughts and opening up to us about the experiences you have had with Ed Daniels. Now, another longtime friend was Delgado Athletics Director and head baseball coach Joe Sherman, and he joined Ed as the co-host of Friday Night Fastball. And he also has spoken to us tonight about his experiences with the great Ed Daniels.
Prep Sports lost a champion today. What he did for Prep Sports, for Friday Night Football, for Prep Football in the greater New Orleans area. But he had the basketball tournament, he had the WGNO baseball tournament, he had Friday Night Fastball. No matter what it was, he covered it. Whether it was basketball, baseball, football, he was always there, and always understood that the lifeblood of the city is prep sports, and really he covered it second to none.
And of course, before there was social media and everyone had a camera in their pockets, Friday Night Football was the way prep players got to see their highlights after the games. Sports Zone football analyst Lester Ricard remembers watching when he was the starting quarterback at Amite High School.
He's been our ESPN for all these years. You know, you go home and you want to see your highlights. All these professional athletes, they always, when they play well, they want to go see what they did on ESPN and all these other networks. And Ed gave us that. Ed gave us that unique perspective that he covered football in high school like no other. He told the story a little bit more unique than anybody else. It wasn't that Amite beats LaRondra, Amite beats Independence. It was the way he told the story. It's how he said Lester Ricard threw a touchdown that made the way that he covered it so unique. And I just felt like when he said, there's Ricard again, it's just like he made you feel like, gosh, look, my uncle up there praising me. And so it was early on that dawn of career. Like when Ed walked up, you know, he's like, there he goes. You know, there's the man that we've been looking forward to seeing. And we always saw when Amite Independence rolled around. We always saw when Amite versus Kentwood rolled around. We always saw when Amite versus Hammond rolled around. So we knew 3 days out of the year we were going to get some coverage of Ed Daniels. And so he's going to be missed.
So your perspective is unique as any. You know, Ed covered you when you were at Amite. He covered you when you were at Tulane. Obviously, your professional aspirations, and then now you were here joining us for the SEC this fall. So it's kind of been a full circle thing for you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your exposure and interactions with Ed Daniels.
Listen, I remember when he covered me in high school, just the personality and how close we were at such an early age, right? And the way he covered us, I remember going home to watch TV, just to watch your highlights on you know, obviously on Friday Night Football. It was something that every kid looked forward to. And then to meet him and see the type of personality he had, the heart that he had. For me being, I don't know, a 17-year-old kid that wasn't very bright, thought that he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, was very unique. I leave LSU, come to Tulane, and I remember so many Monday mornings of being covered by the local media. It'd be him and Ed Robinson, be the only two people that'd be in the room sometimes, especially when we wasn't playing as well. And back then, he started calling me son. And I'm sorry, man. We just created this bond, and very unique. Created this relationship with my family. My mom and dad, they've always been indebted to him. So we've had a relationship like no other. And he's always stayed in touch throughout the years. And, you know, he's going to be a person that we all miss. And this community is going to miss. He's such a great person that has endeared himself to not just the sports community, but just people in general, you know, because when you see Ed on the street, he's going to be the same person, whether it's morning, night, midday, whether he's got a full belly, or whether he's hungry. He's just the same person, and that's the part that we've always loved about him.
The Saints and Pelicans organizations also sharing a statement today saying the Saints and Pelicans are saddened by the passing of longtime New Orleans sports personality Ed Daniels. A New Orleans native, Ed also had a great love for his hometown, both as a sportscaster and a man, recognizing the importance of high school sports locally and the value of them to our youth. We send our thoughts and condolences to Ed's family, friends, and colleagues. Saints head coach Dennis Allen also reacting to the news.
Thoughts and prayers out to all of Ed's family. Obviously, he covered the New Orleans Saints. I've been in New Orleans for almost 15 years, and he was a constant person in the locker room, a constant person in press conferences, was a consummate professional in terms of being a part of the media and covering sports and all in New Orleans. And I know this has been a difficult couple of weeks. Certainly, you know, all of us here at the New Orleans Saints have been thinking about him and his family, and this is certainly a tough loss for the New Orleans sports world. So, having been through this before with my own father, I know how tough this could be, and just wanted to reemphasize how much we're thinking about Ed's family at this point in time and how much he'll be missed within the sports community here in New Orleans.
And once again, thank you, head coach Dennis Allen, for taking time to send a message to the Daniels family, and of course to the entire Saints organization for helping out as much as they have for Mrs. Robin and the entire family. Mike Hoss is a longtime sportscaster and currently the voice of the New Orleans Saints on the radio. And we also caught up with Mike traveling with the team in Irvine, California, as he shares his thoughts on Ed.
I've known him since 1989 when I first got to town, and we were younger reporters, sports reporters covering the Saints, and he was already a stalwart when it came to high school athletics. He had already kind of blazed that trail. This is 30 years ago. And anybody that knows Ed, either as a friend or a colleague or anything, there is no or few work ethic like Ed Daniels. There's a good work ethic, and then there's Ed. He was always
JT Curtis could become
amongst himself when it came to work ethic. He put his heart and his soul into his work.
Greg Gardner played for Coach JT and was his success story.
And a big thank you to Richie Mills and Jared Paul Joseph for sharing so much from the sports community and from themselves as people who work with Ed every day. We'll talk to them again in a minute, but also remembering Ed is LSU's athletics department.
In a statement, the department says LSU mourns the loss of Ed Daniels, a true professional who was more than a member of the media. He was a dear friend. Tulane Athletics also adding, Ed played such a tremendous role in the coverage of so many New Orleanians over the course of his more than 40 years in the market. His dedication to telling the stories of the Green Wave was second to none.
Tulane head football coach John Summerall said it is a sad day in New Orleans sports. Ed leaves a legacy that has positively impacted many people. I will miss our on and off the record conversations.
And Tulane's head baseball coach Jay Ullman said, losing Ed Daniels is an absolutely crushing blow. In my short time here at Tulane, he was so good to me, our program, and my family. I just really, really liked and appreciated him. I will miss Ed tremendously.
The Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation shared a statement saying for more than 40 years, Ed was one of the most steadfast promoters of Louisiana sports, covering the prep and professional sports scene with unrivaled determination and drive for perfection. He was a special person and a dear friend to all of us at the Sports Foundation. His memory will be cherished by everyone who knew him.
Sugar Bowl CEO Jeff Hundley says he was an ambassador for our city and a supporter of athletes and fans, young and old. New Orleans has lost an irreplaceable piece of its heart.
And speaking of young fans, Ed Daniels mentored dozens of young, aspiring sportscasters during his time here.
One of them was Robert O'Shields, who went on to be a WGNO sports reporter and anchor for 14 years. Here's what Bobby O says he'll miss about Ed.
I was just telling my wife, when I moved here in 2007, I had nobody. I moved to a new city and I had nobody. And Ed taught me a lot about the city of New Orleans. And he taught me how to be a man, and in later life, how to be a great husband, and how to be a great father. I'm gonna miss calling him and him rattling cages about something. And that's what I'm gonna miss. And the last conversation I had with him was his granddaughter's recital and my daughter's recital. They're in the same dance studio, and I texted him because he was 2 rows behind me, and I could tell he was kind of huffing because those recitals go very long. And I texted him back, I said, would you rather be here or watching the 2011 Tulane 1-11 team? And I could hear him like, ha, he did a little, his boisterous, ha. And he said, here. And that just tells me he loves his family, and he was the best, because if there was a problem, he was always there to try to help you out, try to get you through whatever you needed to get through.
And Ed was a mentor for another young man who also went on to a career in sports.
Lafayette sportscaster George Faust tells WGNO's Ashley Hamilton how Ed shaped his career.
Back then on his Friday Night Football show, they had a team reporter segment, and he would go around and let different high school students do a package. I was lucky enough to do one.
An inspiration to the youth is what KLFY anchor George Faust says Ed Daniels was to high school athletics, the first person to make them feel like celebrities.
Making those high school athletes feel like they were the New Orleans Saints players. Back in my high school days, the first thing we did after the game, we would leave the game and then go to somebody's house and we'd turn on Friday Night Football.
The news of Ed's passing has left Faust in shock. He says Ed was the greatest mentor a person could ask for.
The way he influenced my career, I know numerous people, the way he handled himself and taught kids, that is also part of his legacy.
A legacy Faust says can never be replaced. Friday Night Football became and always will be a staple because of Ed Daniels.
I think that's part of what people will remember the most about him, and I think honor him by cherishing Friday nights and the football show that he put together.
Ashley Hamilton, WGNO News.
And we have a lot more to show you. More of Ed's family, his friends, community members sharing their memories.
Before we go to a break, here are some of Ed's many memorable moments.
Hi, and welcome to Week 5 of Friday Night Football and the regular season. Hard to believe we're halfway to the state playoffs, but we are, and the game's grow in importance. WGNO's prep analyst JT Curtis will be with us on videotape later in the show. Coach and his Patriots were over in the Florida Panhandle tonight, taking on Booker T. Washington of Pensacola. So we start tonight with defending state champion Thibodaux in the 5A class, making a visit to the big city, to West Jeff Stadium, Haas Memphis Stadium. They take on the West Jeff Buccaneers, and this is certainly an outstanding ball game. Larry Foster certainly has had his share of huge games for the West Jefferson Buccaneers, but none bigger than this year's game against East Jeff. Larry Foster had some extra motivation that night. It was the first time his dad had come to see Larry play. Just getting started.
Some action.
Back with a quarterback who's trying to lead his team to the Dome for a second straight year. But first, the 5A Top 10 as we continue on opening night of Friday Night Football. Hey, Terry. How you doing? Hey, Kelly. Great to have you back. Hi, and welcome to Know It Alls, the game where it really does pay to know New Orleans, and hopefully it'll pay off today for our champion Terry Muenberg, who is wearing 49er red. Hi, and thank you for joining us for a celebrity edition of Know It Alls. Welcome to the WGNO Sports page, where we kick off with a trial balloon being floated by the Saints to Loge season ticket holders. Hello and welcome to Saints Sideline. I'm Ed Daniels. Alexander Laurent is standing by at Saints training camp in La Crosse. But first to New Jersey, where the Saints remained winless in the preseason Friday night, falling to the New York Giants 14-13. We've got a beautiful night, it appears. It's getting a lot better. We have to be optimistic. And of course, the field looks great as the turf drains marvelously here at Tad Gormley Stadium. One of the keys to Saints' success in 1995 is keeping starting quarterback Jim Everett healthy. Wade Wilson is gone, and so now is the man who was to be the backup this year. Welcome to LSU football, the road back. In 30 minutes here on Channel 26, it's LSU football live as the Tigers are in Starkville to take on Mississippi State. All right, let's talk about one of the big stories of the night. Archbishop Hannon going to the Dome. I don't think anyone would have predicted that before the playoffs started, but it is reality and it is happening. The nation's longest home winning streak is now 22 games. Les Miles and players did more than just tip their hat to the faithful. Spurred on by a perfect weather day, crowds on Veterans seemed as numerous as ever. On Mardi Gras Day, everyone is looking for the perfect setup. I think we found it. The Superdome changed many things in our town. Sports was only one. Mardi Gras was another. In 1981, the crew of Endymion was having issues with the Rivergate Convention Center. A meeting with Dome officials and Endymion captain Ed Munez was called hastily. Ed Ogeron runs his career record at LSU to 40 wins and 9 losses. The LSU Tigers have now won 16 straight. And yes, they are national champions for the first time since the 2007 season. One coach who won't be in the transfer portal, head coach Brian Kelly. He said after the game that LSU was his last stop. 8 years ago, an LSU team caught that wave of momentum, and it carried those Tigers all the way to Omaha. It took 5 years to get the lights back up and running. Until then, the Dolphins and at least 24 area high schools played day baseball. Since the storm, the Dolphins have made 9 trips to the Super Regionals, 3 trips to the Junior College World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. And if they ever do win a national championship, that 2006 team will share in the glory. A typical Saints game lasted a lot longer than Rob Ryan's ride in Argus. It is 11:38 a.m. His ride is long over. Rob Ryan is long gone. The Saints defense made Peyton Manning throw the football quickly. It was another great game plan, formulated by coordinator Greg Williams and executed by his underrated Saints defense. Well, the Saints schedule is out, and frankly, I don't know what to make of it except for this. As NFL schedules go, it isn't that difficult. Road games at Dallas and Kansas City would appear to be challenging.
And back-to-back week schedules, you'd hope to not have another disappointing season.
You know, I think it's time to make a step forward, and hopefully this draft class, which appears to be pretty good, can help make that happen. In these negotiations, you always ask who has the leverage, and I think it is Kamara. Can you count on Jamal Williams, who tailed off badly last season? Can you count on Kendre Miller, who has 4 significant injuries since the end of his college career 18 months ago?
Who else should carry it this season then, do you think?
Well, I think that's why they drafted Kendre Miller.
Okay.
But he's got to stay healthy.
You bet.
And we imagine if you are here, you have heard longtime sports director at WGNO, Ed Daniels, has passed away.
3 weeks ago, Ed had a major heart attack and he died today with his family by his side at Oxnard Hospital. Our WGNO general manager, John Cruz, tells us that Ed's friend, Father Tom, was with the family praying the rosary at his bedside. And the rosary is something that Ed's family and friends prayed for him 1 week after his heart attack.
They gathered at Ed's church to pray the rosary, relying on both prayer and positivity and hoping he would recover.
It was praying the rosary with a New Orleans flair. On the evening of July 31st at Ed's church in Metairie, St. Philip Neri, hundreds turned out.
He's been my best friend since we went to high school and college together.
Among them, Kenny Trahan, who knew Ed better than almost anyone. And that evening, he told us how his best friend became a New Orleans sports legend. Trahan watched Ed excel at WGNO, doing the job he loved, no matter what that job was.
From game show host to news anchor to sports anchor to reporter to starting an iconic brand on Friday nights, which is 32 years running. I don't know that you can possibly top that. I don't think anybody in the market, frankly, can.
He's a fighter. We all know that.
Robert O'Shields worked by Ed's side at the station for more than a decade as a sports anchor and reporter, and he saw firsthand the determination Ed always showed to deliver the story and be fair. And just so you know, Ed moved the air in the newsroom. You knew when he was here.
I mean, he runs around that newsroom and he takes over the room.
That's why the T-shirts that were printed for that night seemed so appropriate. Storming Heaven for Ed Daniels. Ed's kids and grandkids were there, and his daughter Michelle expressed her gratitude for the turnout.
I think it's just a testament to Ed's philosophy in life, which is, you know, he welcomes all beliefs. He doesn't judge anyone for anything. As long as you're kind and a good person, he's going to have your back.
Ed was a parishioner at St. Philip Neri Catholic Church, where he sang in the choir. The church is remembering how Ed was a faithful Catholic.
I had the joy of knowing Ed almost as immediately when I got here. I've been pastor here for I'm in my third year now, and so he's a committed member of the choir, and so he made his presence known, and I felt like such a joy to know him here. And he actually hosted the choir Christmas party at his house, and that's when I really got to know him and Robin and his family, and really opened his home to me and his life to me. So one of the parts about Ed that has always humbled me is that here's this guy who has so much knowledge. He's on camera, he's in front of people all the time. He has he has opinions and he wants to let people to know his opinions. And yet when I'm in conversation with him, so many times he would tell me, he's like, hey, I'm dealing with this thing and here's what I've done. What would you do with that? And every time he would ask me that question, I would always be humbled that this guy is asking me, a kid, right? For what I would do with this kind of problem, or how I go about this part of my life. And it's just, he always was willing. That's something that I thought was so beautiful about him, that he was always willing to hear something new.
Obviously recognize him from TV, see him at the choir all the time on Sundays, and also remember him from my days at Rummel, when he would come do pep rallies for us and was just always involved. So always nice to see him around, and someone to look up to for sure.
But they would see him dressed to the nines in the choir, singing loudly, praising the Lord, and he would always be such a warm presence, greeting people, smiling always, just this warm presence. His faith was a complete journey and a discipline. Just the way he approached work, the way he approached all of his career, the way he approached every part of his life, his faith was not just something that was a part of him. He actively pursued a relationship with Jesus Christ. Great singer. These are great singers. Staple held it down in the bass section. I didn't realize how good of a singer he was until there was a Christmas concert 2 years ago, and he had a few solos, and I was like, look at this guy. This isn't just like a hobby for him or something. He's like, oh, this is how I like to participate. This guy can sing. Friday, Ed died at 3 o'clock on Friday. This is what we call the hour of mercy. This is the moment that Jesus Christ died on the cross. This was the time that the Lord brought him home, and I see such power in that through this whole time. And so I say, well done. Ed Daniels, I mean, you did everything in your life to the nines, 110%. Everything you did, even the way that you died. We have great hope that he is resting with the Lord now, that he is in heaven, and we pray one day that we can all be reunited with him in the kingdom of heaven.
Ed was a proud Rummel Red Raider, graduating in 1975. Several members of the Rummel community are sharing their thoughts on today's news.
I knew Ed through Archbishop Rummel High School. I've been at the school for 17 years, and for as long as I can remember, he's been a presence on campus, helping out with celebrity waiters, really doing whatever was needed at his beloved alma mater.
Two things really stick out in my mind about Ed Daniels: his kindness and his faith.
Rummel awaits its seeding in the Division I Select Baseball bracket.
Ed was on campus countless times every year. He'd come talk to the classes, he'd come meet with students. If there were guys who wanted to get into that profession, he'd be the first one willing to talk to you, help get your foot in the door.
Winning close games.
Every time you would talk to him, it'd feel like you were connecting with somebody that really cared about you.
The world was a better place because of Ed Daniels, because of his heart.
I knew he had an interest in the media. I mean, when I was still here at Rummel playing ball in 1979, 1980, Ed and Kenny had already dabbling in covering games on radio and paper and TV. So I got to know him as a young Rummel Raider after he had graduated already, but I knew he was into the field of sports media and covering New Orleans sports. Well, I know how much he loved prep football, and he's one of about 6 or 7 guys in the city that know this game back and forth. And New Orleans is unlike any other city to where prep football can be the front page of a sports page on a Saturday or Sunday morning. That doesn't happen in any other major cities, you know. So we love our prep football here, and Ed has made sure that everybody is covered and everybody's represented. I mean, Ed treats the small schools as well as he treats the big schools. He makes everybody feel like they're very important, and he's done a great job with it. Friday nights with his show, staying up to 2 in the morning, getting up doing radio right away, going to drive to Baton Rouge, then going to a Saints game. He was the ultimate professional. I mean, he took his job very, very seriously. He was going to give you the best news and the best reports on sports teams. He didn't copy off of nobody else. He didn't cut corners. That's how he was. Well, let me tell you, as a former football coach, and I know a lot of coaches, and I coached 30-some years of football. When a game's over, coaches drove back to their buildings and they put the TV on, and you watched Ed Daniels. You wanted to see what he had to say about your team, what about your game, what he said about other teams and other players, and he covered such a vast majority of the city, you know. That's just how he was. And not only did coaches go back, players went back. Players would hurry up, shower up, go run to the nearest Cane's or hamburger place, put the TV on, and try to see if they could be on TV. That doesn't happen many places. And not only was it football, he took it to basketball, and he took it to baseball over the last couple of years. He took his job very serious. I mean, I remember seeing him just, 2 years ago coming here and telling me he had to slow down. And he was slowing down. That's the thing, he had gone to Europe with his family. He was traveling a little bit. We used to talk about travel. He had a place on the coast in Florida. We talked about that. So he was really starting to really enjoy the fruits of his labor. His legacy is going to be big, and his shoes are going to be hard to fill.
And another Rummel grad and the current House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, released a statement saying Ed Daniels was an old-school journalist who was a leader in his profession that so many looked up to. Our community will miss Ed and his incredible professionalism, insight, and knowledge of Louisiana sports. Jennifer and I extend our deepest condolences to his wife, Robin, and his family. After his Rummel days, Ed graduated from Loyola. He loved the university. He never missed the opportunity to cover the Wolfpack.
Tonight, Loyola's athletic director and former basketball coach told us Loyola always knew that it could count on Ed.
Obviously a very sad day. One of the hardest working, journalists in the city of New Orleans. And I posted this afternoon, when we won the national championship, we ended up coming home at like 2 in the morning, and Ed was there to greet us. And of course, Ed Daniels would be there to greet us at 2 a.m. It was never a doubt in my mind that he wouldn't be there. And I just think that speaks to his work ethic, which was second to none, and his love of Loyola. He's a Loyola grad, and he was just a big fan of ours, and we'll miss him dearly.
Daniels meant a lot to this community, covered you guys closely during your national championship run, Coach. Just talk to me about your experiences with Ed and maybe one of your favorite memories.
So in 2021, I called Ed and I said, Ed, I think, we're going to be pretty good. Could we meet for lunch? And we met at Acme Oyster House on Vets. And I said, Ed, I think we're going to be pretty good. We were in the Elite Eight last year, and I think our team's good. Would you cover us? And he said yes. He said, let me think about this for a little bit, and I'm going to give you a call. And my next call from Ed was, I think it was on a Wednesday, and he said, hey, come by the studio tonight and just hang out for a little bit, and we'll visit. And I didn't know I was going to go on for an interview. And he took me around the studio. He introduced me to everybody, and then he put me in front of this nice background there. It had our school logo, and in typical Ed fashion, his first question was, do you think you have a chance to win a national championship? And I said, yes. And he said, really? Most coaches wouldn't say that. And I said, well, you asked me if I had a chance. And we added some pieces from last year's team, and I do think we have a chance. And so that's one of my favorite moments. And then, it was just a couple weeks ago, he interviewed me, and I hope I'm not sharing too much here, but he said, Coach, I gotta be impartial, but I want you to know, if I win the lottery, I'm going to back the Brinks truck right up here to the arena. He said, you think that would help you? And I said, it probably would. It probably would. But Ed always made me feel, I always felt like he cared about me as a person. I always felt like he was a genuine guy. I feel like he was really happy for my success. And just a good man. I know he loved this community, covered high school football like nobody else, and this has been a tough time here, as he's gone through this. So.
Well, among his many ventures in sports, Ed also wrote a column for the Clarion Herald, the official newspaper for the Archdiocese of New Orleans. We spoke to executive editor Peter Finney.
Buddy Diliberto, who a revered person certainly in sports in New Orleans, he had done a Clarion Herald column for many, many years. Buddy passed away in January of 2005. And in June of 2005, Ed took over Buddy's column, essentially. And really, for the last 20 years, almost 20 years, Ed wrote a column for the Clarion Herald, and he never missed a column. Sometimes we get the dates confused about when he had to have it in. He says, oh, wait, I'll have it to you in an hour, and he did. So he was always, he never missed a deadline. It was always very pointed, and just, it was very well read. People really, really liked, what he had to say.
And as much as Ed loved sports, he loved Mardi Gras. He was a longtime member of the crew of Endymion, and he loved riding in that parade every year.
Big fan of the Blinky beads, that's for sure. In fact, before he left for Saints training camp in California, he told us, he told one of his fellow crew members how much he was looking forward to riding next year. Tonight, we spoke with the president of the crew of Endymion, Pepe Bruno.
Everybody just loved him. He was in Endymion a long, long time. And, it's just, it's sad to lose somebody. He was a typical New Orleanian, born and bred. And Mardi Gras is a part of someone's life when they come from New Orleans, and he stays in New Orleans, and he gets to know people. It's the only place in the world where people will spend a good bit of money to buy trinkets, to throw to people that they don't even know and never see again, just to see the joy on people's faces. It meant to him that he had a wider circle of friends than just being a sports fan. I mean, because the Mardi Gras scene is a different scene. And he embraced it, and he did a lot of things with Endymion. He participated in many events. And, you know, we shall miss him greatly. We really will miss Ed Daniels. And the city will miss Ed Daniels. We'll miss him. The guys on his float will miss him tremendously. A lot of our folks ride together for years. We like people to have a good time. We like our riders to have a good time, and he always did. You really make lifelong friends in it, and it's the guys that knew him well will miss him greatly. Just a good fellow.
And we know you noticed some of the clips that we're showing you tonight come from way, way back in Ed's career.
Way back. Hard to believe it today, but Ed co-hosted this game show with Isis Casanova. Isis shares her thoughts with WGNO's Stephanie Oswald.
From WGNO TV, it's Know-It-Alls, the game where it pays to know New Orleans.
One of the reasons we all love Ed Daniels so much and why he will be so dearly missed is that he was a jack of all trades, covering sports, Mardi Gras, even a game show. He was even a game show host, and I want to talk to you about that. This is Isis Casanova. She was his co-host on Know-It-Alls.
Know-It-Alls.
Isis, a lot of us don't know about Know-It-Alls, so tell us a little bit about it.
So Know-It-Alls was a game show about New Orleans. Back in the 90s, I'm dating myself, right, in the early 90s, there was a man called Brandon Tartikoff. He had been president of NBC and he was at Paramount at one time. Very, very important person broadcasting. His daughter had an accident and the doctor was here in New Orleans. So it brought him to New Orleans and he was bored and decided he wanted to do a game show. That's how Ed and I met.
Now here's your host, Ed Daniels, and your hostess, Isis Casanova.
My memories of Ed was he was so kind and so polite. Like not just like the people that he's close to, but he was just like that with every single person. And he was very serious too, but he had a dry sense of humor. And he was just really, really funny at times when he wanted to. It would just come out like he couldn't control himself.
Hi, and thank you for joining us for a celebrity edition of Know-It-Alls. We certainly have two folks who fit the bill.
None of us had ever done a game show. And so we were just kind of messing around all the time. Ed would come in, he was like the dad. All right, we got to get serious. Let's get to it, and get everybody in line. And you know, he brought a lot of clout to the show. Yes. Made it serious, made it respectable, and made it loved by everybody in the city.
And what do you think it was about his personality that made him such a great game show host?
You have to be in control of what you're doing. His seriousness, he was so steady. He was really, really steady and very professional all the time.
A lot of people only know him from behind the sports desk. And I do feel like when we did Mardi Gras coverage, he was able to get a few, you know, fun and games in there. And it was, we were lucky to see that side of him. But you really got to see a lot of it.
He was very sweet and very respectful with me, but he and Tommy would get into it, and they were always at each other.
Telephone, because our home version of Know-It-Alls is coming up. Now back to Ed Daniels.
Tommy Tucker, thank you very much. You did pretty well on those lines, Tom.
Thank you, Uncle Ed.
You've been practicing?
I have.
Good. Keep it up.
Laid off the booze.
Hey, that's a first for you. I'm proud of you. You're going off to Cancun, Shirley. You got $1,950. Have you found a guest to take along with you?
I think I'll take my husband since he put up with me studying.
And you weren't here in 1981 when the Rolling Stones were.
No, that's why I missed the question.
And you wouldn't have gone to the concert anyhow,
I don't
right?
think so.
An honest answer indeed. Okay, let's go over to the king of the crew of Rogaine, Tommy Tucker.
You dirty son.
What do you think it was about Know-It-Alls that Ed loved so much?
Because it was about New Orleans. It was about trivia about us. It wasn't just random trivia. It was everything about, and you learned a lot. There was a lot of New Orleans history that maybe you didn't learn in school. You learned it on the show.
First steamboat, Shirley, with a calliope on it. A, Silver Moon, B, Natchez, or C, Robert E. Lee?
Robert E. Lee?
No, I'm sorry. It was A, the Silver Moon.
We are very proud of our heritage here in town, and that's what the show was about.
And that's definitely something that Ed Daniels was about.
Oh, yeah.
He loved
Always
New Orleans.
He promoted it. He was a fixture in the community, and absolutely, yeah. He knew when to be funny and when to be silly, but when to be professional too. And that is somebody with a lot of class and with a lot of heart and passion for what they do. So.
Wow. Well, you just described Ed Daniels perfectly.
He really was a legend, a living legend, and our hearts are, you know, heavy at the moment. I moved away and then I came back, and when I started doing the Hispanic heritage shows for WGNO, that's when I saw him and I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. He's still here, right?
Right.
After all these years, he's still here.
What do you think that says? I mean,
exactly right. A person who really loves not just his job, but where he works and his city. Because as you know, when you work in broadcasting, you're like a nomad. You are moving around and looking for the next best thing. No, he was satisfied where he was.
He was very happy.
Yeah,
and we were very happy, and we're going to miss him.
Fantastic old video.
Yeah.
There. Ed was also tied to his community in Jefferson Parish, making connections with many of the local leaders.
One of them is former Jefferson Parish President Aaron Broussard, who says he remembers Ed as a professional and a true friend.
Any community that is blessed enough to have Ed Daniels is a blessed community because he brought so much. I mean, in the broadcasting realm, he brought back the great traditions of covering high school football. That was a big thing in New Orleans history. He kind of brought it back, highlighted it, and he was kind of like the main focus of that. But the broadcasting aspect is only the veneer of Ed Daniels. If you got behind that, you saw just a great guy, a guy with a sense of humor, a guy with a super intellect, a family man, a guy who was a man of faith. I mean, he just was so strong in every aspect. I knew him as a friend and really respected him as a professional. And I was blessed to see both sides of him. New Orleans saw the side that was his professional side. He did it so well. He did it so eloquently. He did it so sharply. And he'll long be remembered as one of the better broadcasters that we've ever had in New Orleans. But those that knew him well, really, we're going to be a piece of Swiss cheese for the rest of our lives because there's not going to be an Ed Daniels. There's going to be a hole where Ed Daniels was. And no community could have enough Ed Daniels, and we just lost the only one we had.
Well, if you would like to share your favorite memories or stories of Ed with his family, there's an email that you can do this and they will get your messages. You can send an email to storiesofeddaniels, all one word, @gmail.com.
Tomorrow, stay hydrated. Be careful of that heat. We'll have a chance, like the past couple of days, for some spotty thunderstorms. Not much, but like the past couple of days today, included the ones that pop up, strong wind gust potential. So an isolated severe thunderstorm warning or two, not out of the question. What we'll try to get is a weak front in here Monday to lower that humidity as we get towards the middle of the week. But in the meantime, super hot through the weekend. Could see some storms either Sunday night or Monday morning as that front moves through. And then a little relief from that heat by the middle of the week. Come back and wrap it up in just a couple minutes.
And once again, we're here with sports anchors Richie Mills and Jared Paul Joseph.
Gentlemen, Ed Daniels pushed all of us to be better, and I'm certain you're going to continue the work.
We have to. I mean, it's the best way to honor his legacy. And of course, the WGNO Sports Zone normally airs Friday nights at 10:30 on NOLA 38, the CW. We had a ton of great content that you also were featured in tonight. We'll have that tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. right here on WGNO.
We'll be watching, and thank you for joining us tonight for this special edition.
And thank you, everyone, for all your kind words as we remember Ed Daniels. Good night.